Welcome back to WNST, Towson, Baltimore, and Baltimore Positive. It is a post-draft week. I remember we used to get together over at the barn with ice cream and Ron Marcinak and Phil Savage and little Eric DaCosta. Instead, we just kind of get together and piece it all together because most of it happens on television now. Peter King was in the draft room on day 3, breaking down all the 4th-round picks. But I love talking football with this guy because we talk about risk management and we talk about asset allocations and management. Leonard Raskin manages money and the American dream at Raskin Global. Comes on, yucks it up a little bit about sports and life and politics and football and different stuff. But the draft is fun for all of us who love football, right? I know Bisciotti loves it so much because it's an HR endeavor. It is literally picking talent, which
there
is
you go. What he started.
Yeah, that's his thing, right? That's his thing.
That's right. He's all about the folks.
For me, it's changed dramatically over 27 years, right? I was the first person to shake John Ogden's big paw up there at the Paramount Theater in the Felt Forum, as they called it in 1996. And then that Ray Lewis guy got drafted on the phone wearing the funky shirt, and they passed on Leland McElroy. Now we're starting this thing on Thursday. They're bringing in Vegas girls on poles and card tellers and magic acts, and they're bringing in celebrities to draw this and that. They've turned it into something. You know, you talk about potential, right?
It's a big deal. My goodness, we talked about potential, getting it here. I don't know where they'd hold it, but the stadium's got plenty of room. I mean, it was magnificent. The production they put on, you talk about celebrities, they got bands playing out there. They got celebrity pickers. I love the commish on day 1, pick one, comes out and cheers everybody on to boo him. People hate that guy. I don't know why they hate that guy, but they hate that guy. I think it's just a natural thing. It's really bizarre. I've seen it's Bettman, right? The NHL now, he used to be the NBA, come out to hand out the Stanley Cup to your home winning team. People boo the guy. Why? He's just run the league. It's not like he's doing anything. He didn't kill your mother. My God.
Leonard, I want to tell you this, man. I've got so many old tapes and I play them on the radio from time to time. Not everything has made its way to the web, but everything's made its way to digital. So back when I was syndicated in 1999, 2000, 2001, I think this was in 01. On a summer day, I was doing the show at Mickey Mantle's which is now gone, on 59th Street, looking at Times Square, probably between 7th and 8th Broadway, up right at the park. We looked out at all the horse-drawn carriages and all that. And I did my show there for 3 years in the window whenever the Mets played the Yankees or the Red Sox were playing the Yankees or Michael Jordan was in. It was always a production. But we organized it, and I was the guy at the network who loved hockey, right? And they would always tell me at Sporting News, don't talk hockey. No one likes hockey. Talk golf. Everyone likes golf. And I'm like, so nonetheless, they would implore me to try not to talk hockey too much because we didn't take hockey calls and stuff, right? So I said I wanted the commissioner of the NHL on the show next time we're in New York, and we set it up. So Bettman comes down, sits in the window with me in New York, and does an hour and a half of radio with me. And I literally think it might have been the day Michael Jordan went back in the business or something. It was crazy. There was something else going on something else was happening in the sports world that overshadowed him being there. People were like, why are you there with the hockey guy? I'm like, he's the commissioner of the NHL. And when I asked him the best part of his job, he said, and he was new to it at that point. Ziegler just stepped down and whatever.
Right.
And he's like, the best part of my job, with the New York accent, the Long Island, the whole thing is when I get to present the Stanley Cup. And, and I'm thinking to myself, 23 years later, I wonder if he still feels that way. Then he comes out on the ice, people are throwing stuff at him.
It's crazy.
And they just won the cup.
Right. Their team is carrying the cup. Relax. I don't get it. I don't see that the man's a horror show.
Why would the people in Vegas be booing him when the Capitals had the cup? He gave him a franchise a year before.
Yeah, right. They have a franchise. And here's Goodell, right? They've got the Raiders in the Darth Vader house.
Why are you hating on Goodell in Vegas?
For? I mean, he brought you the world.
You know
wanted football, he brought football. He brought the Raiders, he brought the big house. They're all booing. I'm like, what the heck is going on here? Anyway, enough of the commissioner. On with the game.
Well, no, I would say this to you, as the money guy in Vegas, because I just had a long conversation. Hope everybody goes and listens. Mike Tanier from Football Outsiders came on, and he's a math teacher, right? He taught Joe Flacco
Yep.
math in 11th
Yep.
grade, right? Taught Joe Flacco algebra. And he's been in football forever. Analytics, heavy analytics at Football Outsiders, DVOA, all of that. And I asked him if he's gambling now in football because he kind of admits online that he finds value and will make a wager, not as a gambling guy,
Right.
but as
right.
it's $50 and I think I'm on the right side, or whatever.
Right.
And the gambling part of this, it's amazing. And listen, you and I politically, we're not polar opposite, but we're probably on the different ends of the middle, let's say. But when
Yeah.
it comes to money and the way money leads the world and what you do for a living, this Vegas thing and the fact how quickly that I'm talking with reporters now about betting on football games, which feels awkward to me after 31 years. It'd be like talking about brothels downtown or the weed dealership next door. Well, the weed dealership's here. We didn't talk about that for 25 years on the radio either. Now you can everywhere you go, right? Or prostitution or any of these things, the vices, right?
It's crazy. I don't know the name, but I saw just recently, last couple of weeks, blah, blah, blah is the new casino partner of the New York Yankees.
Yes, of course.
I mean, I think a guy named Pete Rose is not in the hall because he gambled. and now they're encouraging guys to put the logo on their jersey.
Well, there's nothing that says that more than Vegas, right? The Super Bowl is going to be there in a year and a half, right?
This is my point. My goodness, they moved the team to Vegas, which was off limits to have sports in Vegas. And the NHL went there first, the Golden Knights, and they started with a Stanley Cup final in year one. Ridiculous picks that they picked up in the expansion draft to put together a team that could win. Stunning, because this year we had the Seattle Kraken, who have very cool uniforms, by the way, very cool. But the Seattle Kraken didn't play 500 hockey, which shows you the anomaly and the incredible drafting that David Poyle and the guys did out there for a while to put together that initial team. I think it was Poyle that was there, right?
No, it wasn't Poyle. It was the old Capitals guy.
Oh,
it was the in-between Capitals guy.
Okay. Whoever it was, they put together a Stanley Cup winning, or not winning, but a Stanley Cup challenging team in year one. This year, they didn't make the playoffs, first time in their history. Were they 3 years old? 4 years old, they didn't make the playoffs for the first time in their history. Meanwhile, the Detroit Red Wings haven't made the playoffs in the last 7 years. They just fired
George McPhee, by the way. But
McPhee. McPhee.
Yep.
There you go. McFly. George McPhee. Yeah, pick some great picks, most importantly, the flower and goal. You get a good goalie, you work out from there, but they put together a great team. So you got to look at that and say, okay, this is Vegas, and now gambling is everywhere. And let's face it, just this past weekend, you could have bet, I don't know, I'm not an odds guy. I'm not a gambling guy at all. Hate it. Too many people lose too much money that they don't have. So I hate it. But I did see, and I don't know how all this works, but I think the Orioles were plus 225. I guess that means you bet $1, you win 2 1/4 or something, to beat the Red Sox in the series. And they took 2 out of 3 from the Red Sox this weekend. So you could have won $225 on a $100 bet.
Baseball's coming big on gambling too, but
that's what I'm saying.
There's something about this. So my wife and I was in Chicago seeing John Mayer this week. I was out watching the draft, monitoring everything, tweeting, doing all that, doing radio, the whole deal. But I made a commitment with some friends. I got to see some dear friends of mine, so I went and did my thing. But Saturday morning, I landed, and my wife and I went to State Fair. And we're over at State Fair, chicken and waffles, and I got a crush. We look up, and the Saturday morning part of the draft is beginning, and I was going to come back home and sort of monitor in on these 4th-round picks and whatever.
Yeah.
And she looked up at the fountains behind the draft, and the journalist who probably couldn't even see their tablets very well. It looked like the sun was down on them. They couldn't figure things out, like the whole deal. And she looked at it, and she's like, that doesn't look like the draft. The draft should be inside, in a room where like it looks like they're doing a draft, not like they're about to have a water show. And
they did.
Bring out girls in bikinis.
They had a water show. It is different. It is definitely different, and hopefully it comes to a stadium near us. The good news is everything I saw says the Ravens had an A-plus draft, second only or third only to the Jets, who seem to have a great draft, but they're the Jets, so it really doesn't matter. and one other that the world seems to think did pretty well, but I thought we did a great job. I'm a college football fan. I love college football. I love watching these guys run all over the field. And I watched Mr. Hamilton on that interception against, I believe it was Florida State, where he ran from pretty much midfield to the sideline to pick off a pass. And I said, oh my goodness, that guy is incredible. He made a couple other plays in that game, another interception, some great tackles. I said, that dude is a righteous safety. And here we go, get him in.
Well, nobody thought he was going to be there at 14, right? And the interesting thing about all of this is if I were with DeCosta Super Bowl week, or when he was down with Steve Bisciotti and Jupiter doing their State of the Raven stuff that they do in the winter when the year ends, they would have looked at Hamilton, Lindenbaum, and Ajabu, and Ajabu, let's say before the injury, right? They would have looked at those. They were three guys that when they went to Senior Bowl or at any point in the bowl period, at the end of the year, holidays, let's say, when they were still playing football, that they would have looked at them and said, we have the 14th pick. We're only going to get one of them. Maybe somebody could be there at 45, but probably not. And this whole notion that they sat on the Hollywood Brown deal, that he was so disgruntled that he did not want to be here, which the optics of that and the amount of time he spent with Lamar and the fact that out on Instagram they stopped hanging out and he scrubbed this, like all of that, maybe there should have been some tea leaves read into that. But for the people that don't have the Ravens thought highly of after the weekend, part of it is they have a wide receiver issue now. They have a wide receiver gap with a guy that caught 90 balls that it's not addressed right now, first week of May, but at some point they're going to have to address that because they made significant gains, and it feels great to have the center. I love the pick. I love the long range pick on Ajabu. I like what they did with the 4th round picks. I love Sam Cook, and I'm okay with them taking a punter, really, if they love the punter, right?
Of course, you have to.
I think they've really found here in this draft on the back end, they can really crow a bit because I think they wound up getting better football players than they thought they were going to get.
Absolutely. I mean, the first 3 picks being available for them were where they were and the trading that DeCosta did. How about the world out there freaking out because Lamar posted what did he post? OMG.
WTF.
WTF.
No,
WTF.
OMG is not a WTF.
No, WTF.
You got a kid in college. WTF is an elevate. Yeah, that's a.
He posted a WTF after the announcement of the trade. Now, this is you get 2 perspectives, right? You got the his and her story. So I heard both. First of all, the NFL world and the Twitter sphere blowing up because they can't believe how angry he is about the trade of Hollywood Brown. And then you hear the Ravens story that he knew about the trade. He wasn't writing that about the trade.
Dude, Hollywood was hanging out at the Arizona Cardinals
party. He did it because he couldn't believe that he was in Arizona at the draft party with them that night already. That's where he was. So you can take whichever WTF you want, but I think they got decent receivers. As a matter of fact, my favorite that they don't use nearly as much or enough. My favorite, I just lost his name out of my brain.
Duvernay?
From Texas. Duvernay. You got it. The kid never dropped a pass in Texas. Never. And they put him as their primary receiver. I got news for you. This kid's a stud. I think he could be amazing. And they got other talent there that they can work on. And let's not kid ourselves. There's going to be some free agents out there and some guys that want to be traded from their team. We just picked up, 6 4th-round picks. We got some trade bait. We got things to get rid of. DeCosta's going to find the guy there for Lamar to throw to. I'm not worried about that. I think we'll be fine. I just think you train up the guys you have. You let a disgruntled guy go back to his college quarterback and be happy in Arizona, hanging out in the desert. Good for him. And you move on. The fact that nobody saw it, that nobody knew it, is kind of wild in this day and age. That
well, it's sort of the antithesis of his crazy cousin, right?
Who puts everything out the minute it happens and now wants to be picked up by some team again. God knows if anybody takes a chance on that fool.
Yeah,
Oh
we're
my
going to take a
Lord.
guy that's going to take his shirt off and walk off the field in the middle of the game.
Because he doesn't feel like playing anymore. No, let's not do that. And I got to tell you, of the picks, I am, as we speak here on the campus at The Ohio State University, hanging out for a long weekend, getting the boy home from school for the summer. But that team up north had this guy Ojabo, who was amazing on the field, who showed up and put out some amazing talent for that team up north. And the fact that the kid on his pro day popped his Achilles and basically fell out of a skyscraper on the draft. If you're willing to take a chance that you can heal an Achilles and play amazing football, which I think a guy named Suggs did, right? He popped an Achilles and then didn't he come back?
Yeah. I mean, there is a
named,
precedent for him to be able to play, let's say, Thanksgiving time here. Yes.
Right. For lots of guys in the NFL that have had Achilles problems that come back. It's not like he's blown out 2 knees in a week or something. And that's repairable. And he's a stud. So you get him in the 3rd round where he was. I mean, my goodness, I think they did a great job. And 6 picks in the 4th round doesn't hurt. They kind of dominated the 4th round. They could have taken anybody they wanted.
Leonard Raskin is here.
I think we're better.
He is Raskin Global. We are better. I don't think there's any. I totally better with 10 new football players and maybe 3, maybe 4 starters if you count the punter as well. Leonard handles money and handles risk and asset management. This is where maybe I would bring you into the beauty of the NFL, and maybe one of the reasons you and I have fallen out with baseball, and in the NHL as well, is that there's everybody has the same assets, right? Same asset allocation, right? It's like a monopoly game, right? We all get the same amount of money, and then we get to race around. There's my plug for the Maryland Lottery and their monopoly game. I got Betty Boop scratch offs to give away Friday. We're at Conrad's, all brought to you by the Maryland Lottery, as well as our friends at Goodwill Industries and our newest sponsor, Window Nation. So I'll throw that in, but. The notion that the Ravens had 1 draft pick in every round, like everyone else, it's the 14th, like everyone else, and that they manage this thing through trades, asset allocation, valuation, selling high, buying low, like all of those things have, and more than that they game this, that COVID would make the 22 draft thicker in that 80 to 150 range because of how many players didn't get good looks, didn't get on the field, teams didn't play, COVID ravaged all of that there would be more value in that 3rd and 4th round than in normal years, that they loaded up. That's that's the way I want you to handle my money.
That's exactly right. The front office knew what was coming, and they parlayed that into a great long, deep draft for the future. They're looking at some that they picked, saying these are guys that can get on the field right away and help us. They picked a couple that they said these might be a longer term project and we can work on these and make them fit our schematic for later. And then we've got some deep value that long term we think is going to make the grade. And let's face it,
the punter, right? I mean, that's
the punter and a couple 4th round. There's the guy they picked. I can't grab his name. Big guy, tackle, big dude, Australian dude.
Falele.
There you go, Falele. What's he, like 8 feet tall, 400 pounds? The guy is enormous. I think he's like 6'8", 375 or something.
Every time somebody gives his weight and height and all, it reminds me of professional. Like parts unknown.
Right. The dude is huge. Yeah, there you go. Dude is huge and a project, but that's long value. When it comes to investing money, you have some names that you buy that you think are going to hit home runs on right now. And then you've got your deep value stocks, the ones where the company is beat up, knocked down, in trouble for whatever reason. And you say, okay, we're going to buy those names, a la Warren Buffett, who's been doing this forever, buys deep value companies. He doesn't buy deep value stocks. Mostly he buys deep value companies, meaning he does buy stocks, but most of the time he takes over the company, a la Elon Musk. And his goal is to turn the company around. It's a project, make it a win, and long-term, make it not just a home run, but a grand slam. And that's what you get when you buy value, deep value stocks, sometimes small company stocks. You tilt your portfolio that way, talking about managing money. And in the long term, that outperforms the stars. The stars sometimes flame out. So you want your stars, you want your immediate, but some of those flame out. You need your long-term survivors, your deep value guys. And that's where the wealth is made, in money long-term, and in the game of picking out of the draft and hoping these, what are they, 20, 21, 22-year-old kids become the next, that Ray Lewis guy. That how late did he go in the first round? My goodness. Or that Tom Brady guy, what was he, 5th round? That Brett Favre guy was like 3rd round, sitting on the couch. I mean, there's lots of picks that get picked later that are darn good. And there's lots of picks that Ryan Leaf, I guess, don't make it. It's a hard deal. It's a hard
Leonard,
deal.
I want to ask you off the field, because this is quickly, we'll wrap with this, but the Twitter thing and Elon Musk, politics aside, as to whether Trump, this, that, free speech. I mean, he tweets all day, every day. You can have your opinion on Elon Musk, and I have mine.
That's right.
But right. From a financial standpoint, $43 billion. I mean, $43 billion. Like, when you talk about the Ravens, Steve Bisciotti would flip them in a heartbeat for $4 billion right now, right? Right. This is $43 billion.
Well, what's the most intriguing thing about this whole buy is, on an interview right before the Twitter board accepted, which they had to do. They have a fiduciary liability to their shareholders to make the shareholders money, and nobody was coming along to buy this company. Company's not been profitable for a long time. They got a lot of bad business model going on. As you said, Trump this, Trump that, whatever. But when it is demonstrably provable that they throttle out conservatives and block people from speaking that they don't like the position of, you don't need to look any further than their chief counsel, who was crying at the fact that Elon Musk bought the company, and now they're not going to be able to control the speech that they let on the platform. But
it's $43 billion. Can't they go out of business quickly?
Yes. In the interview right before the board said yes, Musk was asked about the financial structure of this deal. And this is what he said. You can watch it on YouTube. Blows my mind when he said it, but he goes, the economics don't matter. He basically said, I don't care if this company makes money. We've got to turn this engine of free speech on. It's the town square, and it's blocking people that need their opinions heard, whether you like it or not. The antidote to bad speech is more speech. You can go back in history everywhere, but in our country, for example, you can go back to Skokie, Illinois, if you know that story, about the KKK and the Nazis wanting to march through Skokie, Illinois, which was a heavily Jewish town. And
Bob Irsay's hometown, by the way. Go ahead.
There you go. And there was a big fight and a big court case about it, and ultimately they marched. And the fact is, what happened was massive anti-march and massive other speech. And it's very clear from then until now, and for history forever till now, free speech is what matters. And the ability to hear every position, whether you like the position or not, better to argue the position logically than to shut it down. And so he's all about that. The guy's a libertarian. He's not really a conservative.
If the questions, my question's about, can it go out of business? I guess it can.
Of course
right?
it can.
Yeah, it's a lot of money. That's a lot of financial responsibility, no matter how much money you have.
But he's taking it private, and he may do amazing things, turn it around, bring it back public, and make a fortune. And I wouldn't doubt it. Let's face it, the guy's going to space. He's docking his rocket on the space station. He's jetting himself up to space. He's doing a tunnel under Vegas so you can get around faster. He's created Tesla. Now, I'll tell you this, the guy's got a lot of government support. So, he's no conservative. He's no liberal. He is a capitalist, plain and simple. And when he says if this thing makes money or not, it doesn't matter, I only believe that because he's got enough money that it doesn't matter. But he wants this thing to make money, and he's going to make money on it. There's no doubt in my mind he's going to make money. Could it go out of business? Sure. This whole Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook thing could go out of business. The world could get sick of it, but I don't see that coming anytime soon.
Leonard Raskin is here. He gives financial advice to those smart enough to listen. You go to Raskin Global, get a little education out there, and doing events this week and in other weeks as well. You can find all that out at RaskinGlobal.com. Hey, I appreciate you. I'll visit back with you next week. We'll, maybe somebody will buy Facebook next week. All right, we'll talk about that.
Yeah, who knows? There you go.
There he goes. Coming back from the Ohio State University. I am Nestor. We are WNST AM 1570 Towson, Baltimore, and we never stop talking Baltimore positive.